So, video games. Fucking shit's up with that, right? So if you're just joining me for the first time on this episode, for whatever fucking reason, for the last couple of installments of PatchWork, I've been trying to go through open world RPGs from what I consider to be a really weak title, and work my way up to what I think is a pretty dang strong one. And this experiment has turned out to be a colossal fucking failure, so after I'm done with all this nonsense, I'm never doing it again. But for the time being, fuck it, I'm sticking this through to the end. But anyway, this all started with Xenoblade Chronicles X and then Final Fantasy 15, so if you want to, you can go and check that out before you finish this one. Or you can finish this one and then go see what the fuck I'm talking about, but I mean, I can't control, I'm not your boss, so whatever, bro. Anyway, the point of all that is that I'm going to be covering a lot of the same shit, so whatever. So today's special treat is Breath of the Wild, a real triumph in video games. I'm going to ruin it for everyone, including myself. Shit. At this point, Ganon showing up isn't even a fucking surprise anymore. People are, frankly, even sick of it. So they're trying to get ready to deal with that. Zelda's off doing some Rocky-style training montage for magic nonsense. Link is, doing Link stuff. Then we got some big-ass robots. That's pretty dope. Everything seems like it's gonna go pretty well, but Ganon shows up and fucks up the whole universe. Just kidding. Just the castle. Everything else is fine. Link goes on the craziest bender of all time, waking up so groggy he ain't remember shit. And he's nude. Anyway, then he goes and recreates the movie The Hangover to remember all his bullshit, and meets up with a cast of kooky, crazy cucks to go and fuck in and shit up. So, like, yeah, well, that's nothing special, but it's pretty easy to follow, and all the moving parts are there and make a good measure of sense. Yeah, very simple, but simplicity isn't necessarily a fucking good thing, alright? Like, check out how you play. Got none of that floppy-ass weeb shit like in Final Fantasy 15, but, like, this is all it is. Now, okay, now I might be the only person in the fucking universe who thinks this, but Twilight Princess's combat was actually pretty awesome, especially after you get all of the fucking abilities. Not to mention you could slash while running? What? But we ain't got none of that shit anymore. We got this 4th grade bullshit. And the oversimplicity doesn't really even stop there. It's sprinkled all over the map, like Parmesan all over your salad after you got a waiter that was way too excited about using a cheese grater. Like, don't get me wrong, I spent an unreasonable amount of time playing this game and just fucking around in the world, just because, you know, it's pretty easy to get into. And the world is gorgeous, and it's just offers you a lot of freedom. But after a while, you begin to realize that the only things in the game really are shrines and jingly little wood boys. I don't give a fuck! And the shrines honestly feel really disconnected from the world, because they're just some kind of sci-fi capsule thing. And as far as cool things to discover in the world go, I mean, there's a few things here and there, but ultimately not much of substance. Kind of neat to look at for a bit, and you can be like, I wonder, but that's about it. Even a lot of the core plot elements kind of just have you go, that's about it, which is a goddamn shame. How are those not explored? You have the cool giant robots, right? They were just kind of abandoned. You found them. Why were they abandoned? Were they ever used successfully before? No? Nobody cares, alright. So what about Zelda not getting her magic? There's probably a lot of things going on with that, right? Like, what about any of the temples? Is there anything to find? No? Well, okay, at least the world has gotta be devastated by darkness and despair since Ganon won, right? Now, everything's good. I mean, the castle's pretty fucked, but everything else is fine. I mean, shit, this girl is obsessed with Guardians. You'd think she'd be horrified of them. Her grandparents probably got trampled by one. I don't know what the deal is with Final Fantasy 15 and Breath of the Wild with something that's supposed to have a lot of impact in the world not showing any at all, but it's busted as hell. And what is busted must be patched. Lame as shit. A lot of the fixes that I would suggest would be really just to go a little bit more in depth with things, explore them a little bit more, you know? Like for the combat, mostly just move back towards Twilight Princess era. Like just being able to slash in different directions depending on if you're targeting or holding the analog stick in a direction would already be a big step up from this foot-planting garbage. And all the different weapon types could give you different abilities as well. Maybe they could have different advantages against some kinds of armor or something. The enemy's tactics and equipment could be varied as well, and that could provide you with an interesting challenge to try and figure out how to get around that kind of shit. I'm not talking about the fucking master mode stuff, because that's only added regen and flying platforms, for fuck's sake. Back to the note about like abilities and shit. What if you got different abilities depending on your armor? Like some have passive abilities, sure, but like what if in the stealth armor you had an additional dodge jump backwards that would let you throw down a smoke bomb or something, and that needs to recharge after you use it? Like, I don't know, it gives you temporary invisibility or some shit, and it's great great for getting out of sticky situations where you were trying to sneak, but fucking oops. Awesome. Great. That's already a great, good job. And it'd be great to just see more items in general. Like fucking, you could bring back just the grappling hook, and it could have the regular mechanics of swinging on poles and hitting enemies and stuff. But also, what if it could just help you climb? Like, what if it could help you climb in fucking rain? And it wouldn't need to be like one of those you need this item to beat this temple's boss kinds of situations. You could just find it in the world by accident, or maybe it could have a quest attached to it, but it's not necessary. Like, the whole game's motif is extreme freedom, so fuck it. And a little bit more development of some of the core plot things would be nice. Like, what if at one point during the divine beast situation, either after or before you deal with the blights, you end up learning about something or some process or something, and it leads you to where the beasts were designed and built. Like, this ancient city could be underground. That'd be fucking awesome. It doesn't even need to have like a boss necessarily, just like a couple cool puzzles, and then you find the thing or whatever information, and then it's so much lore and like this cool new thing to see and experience. And just learning more about like the blights and shit too. Were they always a thing? Did Ganon make them? Were they like a god or something before and Ganon corrupted them? And what about the dragons? I mean, dude, okay, what if the dragons were like at odds with the blights, and they were like dormant for a long time because they were keeping the blights sealed, but Ganon fucking with shit ended up releasing the blights, and that's why the dragons are all out and they're messing with stuff because they were dormant, but now they're, whoa, dude, some of the main characters could stand to also be, you know, a little bit more important, like Sidon and all them. Feel like they're meant to matter, but you do like one thing with them and then they're gone forever. Like, what if near the end of the game you get to like a certain point near Ganon's room and he starts waking up, so things start going like crazy, well, crazier, but then because you did that quest line, the dude shows up and he saves your ass and makes it easier for you to get to Ganon. But if you didn't, then you just kind of have to fight more shit, whatever. That'd be fucking awesome. And like, just as far as showing like impact in the world and stuff, I don't know, have more destruction all around. Like, there's a couple ruined buildings, but really impossible to tell if that's as a result of Ganon or if it just kind of like fell into disrepair. Like, this fucking, what's that? I don't know. I don't know. And like, shit, man, the bokoblins and stuff, they work for Ganon. They're his homies. Why are they not living it up in the old Hylian towns and shit? They just live in shitty fucking tree houses. What are you doing? Stop it. Get down here. I'm gonna slap the shit out of you. Also, another good move to showing any sort of impact or loss in the world is you'll make fucking everyone over 100 years old. Like, apparently Ganon taking over Hyrule Castle is such a non-issue that even people that were alive during the time don't give a fuck. And also the shrine things, way too many of them. They're all kind of whatever. You could have the same kinds of rewards and stuff sprinkled into things that are baked into the map. Like, what if Castletown or some other fucking random Hylian city was totally ravaged, and you get there, you fight your way to the center of it, and there's like one of the ancient monks or whatever the fuck, and he's got his barrier up, and it's keeping out all the malice goo and goblins and Lizalfos, so that they don't get their hands on it. So you fight your way to the center of that, you get the same reward and everything, but you also get to see this really awesome thing that's not disconnected from the world. And it's like, and it's tied into the main idea, and it's, oh, it's beautiful. You know what? None of this is ever gonna happen, so now I'm just talking about a game that I want and that I'm never gonna have, and I'm sad. But anyways, I hope that made any measure of sense. I just kind of turned on my microphone and went off. I had bullet notes, but the original version of this, like, I wrote up like a whole thing, a really in-depth analysis of it, and it ended up being like 32 minutes long. So that's clearly unacceptable, but I made just like a version with a still image, and it's just like the audio with the, like, you know, whatever. So that's, I'm gonna have that be for like patrons and members, so it's like it's the same thing essentially, it's just like a Patchwork Plus, if that makes sense. So if that's something that interests you, you can check out the join button below or wherever it is, or the Patreon link right there. But also you can check out other Patchwork videos and some stuff I've worked on, and subscribe to my channel, and have a nice day. Okay.